Hey everybody, I'm Chanel with King and Country Candle Company and welcome to our channel. Today we are going to go through the steps of how to make a candle. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, great to see you again. Okay, so let's get started. I've already pulled together the items that I was going to need to do this video with. So I have paper towels over there off to the side because I tend to use a lot of paper towels. I know it's not good, but that's just me. We have our jars all ready to go. We have our wick stickers, our wick holders. We have our wicks. And for me, I'm going to be using CD12 today because that is the wick that works best with my vessel and with the wax and fragrance oils that I have blended together. And I know this because of testing. So if you are going to be making your candle, you may have a different diameter, which everything is a variable. It just depends on your container, your fragrances that you're using, the type of wax that you're using. So it may look completely different for you. But for what I'm doing today, CD12 is going to work great for me. Let's see what else. We have our stir spoons. We have our wax melter. We have a scale. And we have our warming mat. I love the warming mat. If you have not used a warming mat before when you're making your candles, oh my goodness, you're missing out. The mat is actually a food mat to keep your food warm, but you can put your candle jars on it and it helps to keep your jars warm while you are doing everything else. And then I also like to put my pot on there as well because that way when I'm pouring the wax into it, it's not going into a cold container. And that way it doesn't instantly start to cool down. So we've got all of that set and ready to go. So I'm going to, these jars were jars that I had just taken out of the box. So when you are working with jars that are coming out of the box or have been sitting around, you definitely want to make sure that you are cleaning them first just to get out any dust particles that could be inside of the jar from shipping. So this jar I had not cleaned out yet. So we're going to go ahead and wipe this jar off. Get all the craziness out of it. And then I'm going to put that jar on the warming mat. Now my other jars have already been warming, so they're actually good to go now. I have already pre-measured my wax, so I know that to make one candle I need 6.8 ounces of wax. And the way I came to that is my jar that I'm using is a 7.5 ounce jar, and I'm going to be using 10% of a fragrance load. So that would mean I would take my 7.5 and divide it by 1.10, and that will give me 6.8, which is my wax weight. So I'm going to turn on my scale, and I'm going to put this can on the scale, and then I'm going to tear it so that it goes to 0. And now that this is at 0, my wax is already warmed and ready to go. I'm going to get 6.8 ounces of wax out of my melter. I don't want that to touch because it'll affect the weight. Okay, there we go. Oh, wait, it's bouncing around. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to get 6.8 ounces of wax going. Uh-oh. And that's not a lot of wax in my can. As you know, you can see and hear from that. It's because there's only a little bit of wax at the end there. Oh, wow. I could not have planned that more perfectly. Let's see. We're at 6.75. So we just need a little bit more to reach our 6.8. Perfect, 6.8, and we are there. So the next thing I would do is, now that I have my wax, I'm going to, let's do going to do this one. We have a fragrance that we call Porch Sippin' that we blended some really cool fruity scents together to create this. And I'm going to put in here enough. So let me back up a moment so you know what I'm doing. So my jar is 6.8 ounces. I'm sorry, my jar is 7.5 ounces, and my wax is 6.8. So I'm going to need to get my fragrance to a 7.5, which is the difference. And actually, before I do that, I almost forgot we need to get our jar ready, because once we're done with adding the fragrance and stirring it for 2 minutes, we are going to be pouring it into our candle jar. So I'm just attaching my wick sticker to the bottom of my wick and then getting it as centered as possible. And I like to push down on it to make sure that it's in there, stuck in there nice and good. And you can see right there. Okay. Now I like to put on my wick holder before I put my wax in. I know some people like to do it afterwards, but I like to do it this way. Okay, so now we are gonna go ahead and add our fragrance oil. Oh, there we go, perfectly. 7.5. So now we are going to stir for 2 minutes. So I set a timer there. Yep. For 2 minutes, we're going to stir the fragrance. And when you're stirring your fragrance or your mixture here, you don't want to stir it like you're in a kitchen cooking. You want to make sure that you're stirring it slow and smooth so that the fragrance oils can bind to the wax. Now I'm using soy wax. So I had preheated my wax to 185 and my melter holds it at that temp. And it may seem like you're stirring forever, but as you do it, 2 minutes goes by pretty quickly. You just want to go slow and even with your stirring. And I probably could have used my smaller can. I didn't think about that because it's only a 7.5 ounce candle that I'm going to be pouring right now. But that's okay. So you will find that you may find a way of doing it that's different and what works best for you, and that's okay. This is just what works best for me. I know when I first started making candles, I would pour my fragrance oil into a separate little jar that I had and would measure that right on the scale and then just pour it into the can. But now I find with these great little bottles I have that it's easy to squirt because you're not getting as much out. You don't have to worry about overfilling with fragrances because of how it comes out of the bottle. Smells good. This particular candle of ours smells like we call it porch sipping because it literally smells like you could be out on your porch in the spring enjoying your drink. So it's definitely one of those scents that we have that just remind us of spring and summer. And it was extremely popular last year. So as we're about to, start to get ready for the spring season, we want to make sure that we have our products stocked up and ready to go. Okay. And I'll get another paper towel. Put that on. Okay, and then we are going to pour it into the jar, and you want to pour slowly. You don't just want to dump it in there really fast. Every motion you make can affect your candle. Perfect. We got the right amount. We have room in it for our wick to still be trimmed, and for our lid, our jars have the wooden lids on top, so there's still enough room there for us to keep our wick cut down to 1/4 of an inch, and still be able to get our top on. So what we're going to do is let that cure up, and once it's all cured, I know most places or people will say you have to wait 2 weeks. But if you're shipping your candle out to people, I find that you don't have to wait 2 weeks, because by the time it reaches them, sometimes you're already at a 2 week mark before the customer even burns it. That works well for us. But because this candle also is not going anywhere right now, it will have plenty of cure time. So we'll let that cure up. And in a couple of days, about 2 days, we'll go ahead and trim that wick and move it over to the rest of the candles and get a label put on it. And then it'll be all ready for when customers start ordering their spring candles. Okay. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed being with us today, and I hope that maybe you found some techniques or things that may work well for you. Um, and happy candle making. Until next time, as we always like to say, God bless.